where creativity meets community and every park becomes a canvas for inspiration. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. This is our host, Beatriz Vazquez, and you're watching Arts in Parks and Rec, streaming live every first and third Wednesday of the month at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join us as we explore how art transforms parks and public spaces through inspiring murals, creative programs, live performances, and community events that spark imagination, strengthen connections, and enrich lives. Arts in Parks, where creativity brings every community to life. In this episode, Melissa Chalsma, Artistic Director of Indie Shakes and the Griffith Park Free Shakespeare Festival, shares how free outdoor theater is making the arts more accessible through parks and recreation. Discover how creative partnerships, community engagement, and arts programming inspire future generations while making parks more connected, inclusive, and impactful.
Hello. It's 12 o'clock or about 12:01. And welcome to the Arts in Parks and Rec podcast. This is your host, Beatriz Vazquez, transmitting from Hollywood, California. Before we jump in, please hit like and subscribe to the DPRS Media Network. Your engagement directly helps us shine a spotlight on the park and recreation champions transforming communities across the country. Tap and subscribe, ring the bell, and let's get into today's episode with our amazing and incredible guest, Melissa Chalsma.
This episode is brought to you by SDSU's Sports MBA program. If you're passionate about sports and want to work in the women's sports industry, then this is the time to pay attention. SDSU's program is 12 months accelerated hands-on learning where students have actually gotten to work with teams like the San Diego Mojo, partnered with the Farmers Insurance Open, and visited headquarters like the Upper Deck or Callaway Golf. It's built for people who want to be in rooms like that. So if you're interested, deadlines are approaching. Learn more or apply with the links in the description.
Hello,
Hi.
Miss Melissa. Welcome to the Arts in Parks and Rec podcast. Thank you so much for accepting our invitation.
Thank you so much for having me.
I'm so excited to have you here. For those of you that are not in California, Melissa is the artistic director of the Shakespeare in the Park Festival here in Los Angeles and Shakespeare, Indie Shakes, which is a theater company based in Los Angeles that does incredible, amazing classical theater work. And she works in conjunction with the Griffith Park. That's where a lot of the performances happen during the summer. And so this is the reason why she's here today. And I'm so grateful to have you with us today, Melissa. Thank you for coming.
Oh, you're so welcome. It's absolutely my pleasure.
So let's start. I just want to start with the basics. How did you get into theater? When did you start? When did you get bitten by the theater bug?
Just the basics. It could be a very long story. You know, it's interesting. I cannot really remember why I became interested in theater. I was always interested in theater from the time I was a very, very small child. And we weren't a particularly theater going family. So that wasn't part of our routine. I don't really remember going to see plays outside of school plays. But somewhere along the line when I was very young, I decided that I wanted to be a theater performer based on really no experience of theater at all. And I think it's because I saw Star Wars, the original Star Wars, as a very young child. And I really wanted to be involved in that kind of epic storytelling in some way. I knew I couldn't really go to space, but I thought maybe it was like there's a way for me to tell these kind of stories. And I think watching that movie is actually what really inspired me to become a performer and theater. And I think it makes a lot of sense that I ended up in Shakespeare, because Shakespeare is also epic storytelling at that level.
Of course.
They're very similar, these kind of very mythical, very non-realistic kind of works of art that are so much fun to inhabit and to produce and to share with people. So I think that's kind of how it started. And then I was, it's a pretty typical story of sort of doing it throughout school and having those opportunities at my school, which is why it's so important to have arts programs in schools.
Yes.
And then studying it in college and then going to get a degree in it, and then starting as an actor in New York, and eventually, so I and then my husband and I, who I co-founded the company with, we were both kind of underemployed actors, as a lot of actors are, and
not just actors, performers in general, artists
in general. We were we have all this to express, but we're doing a lot of things like waiting on tables and being caterers. And we had this really weird job where we were employed by a detective agency.
Oh, wow.
And we would go do these a lot. This company at the time hired a lot of actors, and we would go down. What we were looking for was places that were selling counterfeit goods.
Oh, wow.
And and it's such a sort of strange job. And my husband did a lot of it, and he was out and one of the things you always had to do was like sit outside and wait, like you were doing surveillance, and you had to kind of look inconspicuous. So he had a local paper, and he was reading the local paper, and he noticed in that sort of somebody was going to go this really tight. There was this amazing theater in Lower East Side of Manhattan called Nada, and they were going to put on every one of Shakespeare's plays, and that space was just so tiny. And that really inspired him to think about, well, what kind of play would we put on there if we could? Yes. And he came to me, and we started talking about a production of Henry V. We ended up not being part of that amazing theater, but we did end up producing Henry V in Manhattan, in a Lower East Side place theater that used to be like a mechanic's chop shop.
Oh, wow.
It was just this big open space. It didn't have any heating.
Oh my God.
The landlord was the guy who ran it, is this amazing artist named John Clancy. And he didn't want to be charging artists money. Like, he wanted to make it super accessible.
Oh, that's great.
So he, the way he did that was basically to have performances in there all the time. And then if you made up to after a certain amount, you'd give him some money. But most people could never pay him any money, because no one was making any money. So he had to have things running all hours of the day and night. So our performance slot was Tuesday nights at 10 p.m.
Oh, wow.
in February in this unheated theater. So you can imagine, mostly there were more actors on stage than people in the audience.
Oh.
But that production really just ignited something in us. And we really realized that we really loved getting involved and thinking about ways of telling these epic stories to people.
Yes.
And that was sort of our first experience as a theater company. And then we came out to LA. We were having a child. We were losing our apartment in New York. So we took that opportunity to move somewhere else where it was at the time a little bit cheaper to live out here at the time. And we really very quickly started working with the Department of Recs and Parks here in LA to put Shakespeare on outdoors in city parks for free for people. So we started doing that in 2004 was our first free Shakespeare in the Park production.
Yes.
And that's really, once we got outside with these epic stories in this kind of location where you could really use your full voice, and you could really do these kind of larger scale productions in terms of the acting and the performance style, we really sort of found our way as a company and realized that was going to be a really key part of our art making, was doing these outdoor performances for free, so that we could have as many people as possible come. Because as you know, I mean, so much of arts is that it's that marketing, it's that like capital component, right? It's expensive
Yes.
to do. So ticket prices get expensive.
Yes.
So then fewer and fewer people can go to them. So then the ticket
Hmm.
prices have to go up because arts cost money, so it's this
Yes.
kind of cycle of it getting less and less accessible. So we've been fortunate that we've kind of more or less found a way that
Yes.
makes sense to do it for free. And part of that has been our partnership with the Department of
With the
Recreation and
Department of
Parks.
Recreation
Yeah.
and Parks. That's
Mhm.
fantastic. I was
Yeah.
reading somewhere that your first performance here was attended by 14 people and a dog.
100%. And that dog did leave at intermission. So I don't know. That is very, very true. And that was at Barnstable Park, which is a
Oh my
Rex
good.
Park
Yes.
in
Yeah.
East Hollywood.
Yes.
Beautiful park. And we were there for 6 years. So that was our first production. We did Two
Hmm.
Gentlemen of Verona. And that is very, very true that's how many people came to our first
It's
show.
amazing because I was reading and you went from having 14 people and a dog to an estimation of 50,000 people now watching your productions,
Yeah.
which is like amazing, amazing just to hear the growth of the company and
Yeah.
and the fact that the audience has a chance to enjoy you guys for free.
Yeah. I mean, of course, that's not all at once. That's over the summer.
Of course, of course. Yes, yes,
But yeah,
yes.
it's really interesting. And I think that what at this point now, one of the things that's so inspiring is that I think because it is free, especially, it makes
Hmm.
it so easy for families to come. Because
Yes,
if you're going to spend, let's say, $40, $50, $60 on a ticket, you might not want to bring your 8-year-old who might not
yes,
really like it. Do you know what I mean? Because you
exactly.
might have
Yeah.
to leave and it seems like a thing and it's so formal. And what if they make noise or kick the seat? And I think, worry as a parent about
Yes.
bringing your child to those kind of events, because our productions are not children's theater. I mean, it's adult theater,
Yes.
but we
Yes.
welcome everybody. We welcome children.
Well, I
And
think
so
the
what
fact that you guys do it at the
mhm,
the festival at the park at Griffith Park is an open setting
yep,
that allows everyone, including the dogs, to come to watch the
including the
shows.
dogs. And what's great about kids is then now we're starting to see kids who've been like, we have an intern this year who came. We have 2 interns this year who are now women in college,
Uh-huh.
and they started coming to the park to see shows when they were small children.
Yeah,
And now they're working with us. And that's
that
just a
is.
really extraordinary thing to think that not only are you providing entertainment, but we're
Mhm.
also sort of helping build that next generation of theater makers here in Los Angeles
Well, that
through
is
that opportunity
through
of
that
attending, becoming
opportunity.
inspired, finding, seeing themselves on stage, thinking that they could be part of this sort of event, this world, this arts world. And I think that's
Yeah,
one of the things that's the most gratifying for all of us.
absolutely. That's what I always say. I mean, how do you expect to build the audience of the future if you're not investing
Yeah.
in the children of today?
Yeah.
Like if I want to have a great audience in 15, 20 years, I have to start with the little ones, and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of companies I'm not gonna mention, but certain companies that sell products that are not so good for your health have invested, or done logos that attract children because they
Yeah.
know that in the future this will be the consumers. And so it's so important to be able to have children involved in the arts, and having the festival during the summer and at Griffith Park and for free is such an amazing transformative experience just for the city of Los Angeles
Yeah.
overall and for all the surrounding areas, because I cannot think of any other place where you can go watch Shakespeare, be at a park and be for free, except the festival of Shakespeare in the park at Griffith Park.
I think that it makes also so much sense on that, thinking about families and young people,
Hmm.
is because I think the fact that parks by their very nature are open and they're public,
Yes.
and families are already used to coming to parks. Families, and where we perform in Griffith Park is such a lovely location. It's the old zoo. So it's where
Yes.
the zoo used to be before it moved to the more
To the
humane
new look. Yes.
grounds it is now.
Yes.
It's like
Yes.
it's really kind of sad when you look at the old bear cages. It's like, they're very small little places,
Yes.
but but right near us is also, the Shane's Inspiration Playground and the merry-go-round. And it is a place
Yes,
that is really a central gathering place already for families. So I think it makes so much sense, as you're saying, to have accessible arts. Like, where else does it make more sense than having them in the park, which is
absolutely.
already a place that we think of as being for families, not just families, but for families as well as everyone else. Because I think, there are certainly a lot of amazing cultural institutions in our city, but I don't think we necessarily think of, some of those places as being for young people,
Yeah. I mean,
and maybe
I
that's okay. I
perform.
mean, I don't know that that's a bad thing. It's just,
I mean,
it's
it's
just not
different.
inherently that.
Yeah, like I've danced with dance companies where people under the age of 18 or were not allowed, and our subject matter was not even, bad to say. It was just because the director felt that children and young people were distracting.
Yeah.
And it was for us, for the performers, we had a few that had kids, and for them it was really disappointing not to be able to have their 7 or 8-year-old kid come and watch the show.
Yeah.
And it's not even a show, it wasn't even a show that was like with extreme violence or sexuality or nudity. It was just because the
Interesting.
director was really strict and wanted like a very serious setting in the audience.
That's
um,
interesting. I mean, I think it's appropriate that some places are child free. Like, I can see, like, I wouldn't bring a really young child to a really, I don't know, expensive restaurant or
Risque,
something like
yes,
that,
or like a
but
risque show.
or risque show or something. But yeah, that does seem odd for a
But it
dance
happens.
performance. As long as, you're assuming that if the child is, I mean, I've taken my kids places and they've been a little bit squirmy, and I've just said, okay, well, we're going to go so we don't disturb
That's it.
anybody. I don't really,
Exactly.
that seems
Exactly.
better than saying no, because you never know. Some kids, when they're little, will really, and that always has surprised me. Like, we have had shows where I have thought this, you know,
Uh-huh.
like, a little kid isn't going to sit through this, but there is invariably a parent who says, I didn't think my child would like this, but they sat there and they were glued to it. And it's a 5 or 6 year old.
Oh,
I don't think my 5 or 6 year olds would have liked that so much, but some kids really
really?
are
Yeah.
able to focus on it at a very early age. And I think it's amazingly important for parents and guardians of children to be able to have a place where they can take them
Yeah.
and see, like, is this something that inspires you? Is this an affinity you have?
Yes.
Because I think I know if I had been a little kid watching, I would have been glued to the stage.
Yes.
So I think it makes so much sense for any kind of arts program to kind of also live inside of a park. I think is a really
Yes.
important
Absolutely.
thing, because it's just a place that we all think of as, this park belongs to everybody. And I want
Yes.
art to belong to everyone. And I want the
Of
work I make
course.
to belong to everybody.
It's so beautiful, and that's one of the reasons why Craig decided that we should do this podcast. Like I was conversing with you earlier, um, a lot of times parks and recreation have been associated just with sports, and people are
Mm,
missing out. We feel people are missing out on the fact that parks and recreation throughout the country have wonderful, wonderful programs, and they're offering arts and performing classes, dance, music, theater, uh, painting, sculpture. And people just don't know, because when they go to the park, they just think, oh, well, let me find the basketball or the soccer or volleyball classes. And then when they find out that there's something artistic happening, it's so refreshing for them.
yeah. And it's a wonderful place too for people that maybe aren't thinking about the arts as something that they want to interact with, or maybe they just haven't had that
Hmm.
opportunity yet, because they can find it at a park. Like, you don't have to go, you know what I mean? And that brings to mind, we have a wonderful ensemble member named Javi Moreno, and he is acted in many, many, many of our productions. He's
Uh-huh.
an amazing artist out here in LA. And he, whenever he's in a show, he always likes, when he has a minute, to walk around behind the audience and just, like,
Oh,
watch the audience. And he was
yes.
doing that one day, and he saw this, like, teenage guy, and the guy was like, what's happening? And he said, oh, it's a play, you should sit down. And he went, oh, no, I didn't get a ticket or anything. And he said, no, it's fine, it's free, it's open. He's like, oh, no, but it's not for me. He
Yeah.
went, no, it's for you. That's why we're doing it. You can just sit down and watch the show. And so he did. And then the next week, Javi saw the same kid, only this
Oh,
time he had a teenage girl with him, and
oh,
they
that's
had
so
like
sweet.
chips and soda and like this teenage picnic. And she was saying, but this isn't for us. We didn't get a ticket. And the kid was
Uh,
saying, no, it's for us. We can just sit down and watch it.
you see?
And that's
So,
like the perfect like encapsulation of why we like to do what we do and why we like to do it in a park, because
yes.
it is this place where people can find us who maybe don't even know yet that they love
And
the arts, or
Shakespeare
don't
can be
even know
so,
yet that it's for
yeah.
them. Yeah,
And Shakespeare can be so scary for them too. The moment, I mean, if they
100%.
hear it's a play, like a fun play, like informal and fun and modern, whatever, then they're more inclined to go. But then when you hear the word Shakespeare, they immediately imagine, something for my grandparents. It's not for me. And the fact that this happened and that this young guy brought his girlfriend the next week is such a beautiful story
Yeah.
because it is for everybody. And you guys are making Shakespeare friendly for people to be exposed to it and get to know the beauty of it.
Yeah, and I find that's often really true that about a lot of art forms, whether it's dance or painting or music, that people, because I think we have less, when I was growing up, we absolutely had music class in school. We had
Mhm.
art class in school. We
Yes,
had arts in the schools.
yes,
So we were
yes.
from a very early age, at least sort of understood this is something I can be interested in. This is something
Exactly.
that's there to be interested in. And I think as those things get reduced, it is like what you say, people sort of have in their minds, that's this thing for other people.
For
Where I
other
never
people.
would have thought that as a child, because I had art teachers my whole life
Yes.
encouraging me in one way or another, and so I do think it is that's a really great point, that idea of that, if creating something that is so welcoming allows people that maybe haven't had that experience yet to realize,
Hmm.
oh, this is this thing that I can be part of,
Yes.
and that will, I mean, I think, isn't it, I mean, well, you know this because you're an artist as well, participating in the arts, and I don't mean necessarily doing it, I mean just going to a museum or listening to music,
Mhm.
enriches your life immeasurably.
Absolutely.
It is such a vital, crucial part of the human experience, whoever
Oh,
you are and whatever
yeah.
that art is, because
Yeah.
it might be different for everybody. And I think it's really important that as artists, that we're thinking, of course, yes, we're thinking about our own things we're doing as an artist, our own expression. What do we have to say? But I
Hmm.
think it's equally important to think about, who are we saying it to?
Yes.
And who are we giving this to? Because it's that act of giving it where the art is, if you ask me.
Yeah.
It's the act of passing this over. And I always sort of say that, like, a play is really what happens. It's not what happens on stage, it's what happens in the audience's
And
mind and their
no, that's beautiful.
imaginations.
Yeah.
And we as artists, our job on stage is to think of ways of letting the audience have the tools to let the play come to life in their
Yeah.
imaginations.
Yeah.
And that's really the
Absolutely.
play is, and for, so I think um, that's yes, that is why I think having these kind of public settings really matter in terms of for
Hmm.
people. And so there are so many parks, and I'm thinking about LA, there's parks that feel more, I don't, there's parks like Griffith Park where we perform. I think it's
Yes.
the nation's largest urban park, like
I
urban
think
wildlife
so
park.
too. I think so too. Because I mean, I should have looked it up how big it is, but it's incredibly big.
Yeah. And so much of it is wildlife. So if you go to like
Yes.
New York Central Park, which is so stunningly beautiful, has really been landscaped.
Yes.
A lot of it, but of
Yes.
course Griffith Park has all of this kind of
Because it's
wilderness.
so open, right? You
It's so,
get to a
yeah.
point where it's like, yeah,
And so we have
not even
those
the park
things.
rangers go.
Yeah. So there's a lot happening in that park some summers. We've had definitely things where we've had to pause because a couple times there've been helicopters that are rescuing like a
Uh-huh.
injured hiker or something
Oh
like
my
that. They were
God.
fine. They were, in both instances, the people were
How
fine.
do you guys handle that when that happens? The play must go on.
Well, if it's a helicopter that's sort of right near the stage, it's way too loud.
So
So
you guys
one
pause.
time it was sort of this has happened twice in like 15 years, but it's
Yes.
definitely not a frequent occurrence. But it was one time we just held, and eventually it passed. One time it was crazy because it was there like 45 minutes, and eventually the audience started leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And most of the audience left, but there was like 150 people that were like, no,
Wow.
we're going to see the end of Macbeth.
Aww.
And so when the helicopter finally left, it was, we did it for those little group of people. And it was actually quite electric because these were people that were really committed to this story, and they
Of
wanted to see the
course.
end of it. But yeah, that's one of the things about performing outside is that it is, it's true in any performing art that it's never the same one night to the next.
That's what I was gonna ask you.
But
How
outside,
have you guys
it's really
adjusted?
never the same one night to the
And
next.
how did you guys adjust from going, or how do you adjust from going from an indoor experience to an outdoor experience?
I will tell you, it's hard, and it's kind of hard every year because
Oh.
what you're starting to deal with is even things like, okay, so as an actor, we do use amplification for our voices, but it's pretty
Mhm.
slight, and we really try to have our natural voices still kind of send
Project.
out most of the
Yeah.
sound. But how your voice travels through air, how the sound waves travel through air, it varies with humidity.
Oh my
So
God.
even from that perspective, your voice to your body feels different night to night. And it's very, like, these kind of adjustments are so odd to have to do. Whereas in an indoor theater, of course, it's really pretty much
Everything is
mostly the same every
controlled.
night. It's
And it's
controlled.
controlled
And
environment. Yeah.
you have none of that in the park. We had this great time because that there was a hawk,
Oh
and in the middle of the show, it came down and it picked a gopher up, and it
no.
swooped off, and the audience like cheered, like, yeah, you got your gopher. It's just so so there's always
Oh.
things like that, or because it's outdoors and because the audience, I always say you don't give people, you can't really give people a little freedom. You either give them, they get all the freedom if you give them freedom.
Yes.
And so our audiences are frequently like, sometimes very interesting things happen in the audience. Nothing bad, but just sort of, because a lot of times people coming to our shows aren't necessarily theater goers. And of course, there's this set of unspoken rules in an indoor theater.
Yes.
Don't do this, don't do that, right? The first thing
That's
you do is
true.
first thing you hear is turn your phone off, don't get up, whatever. And we don't want people to feel like a set
that.
of no's.
Yes.
And so, sometimes, one time someone's phone rang and I was near her. I was just in the audience watching, and she answered it. And I was like, that's so strange. And she was like, hello, I'm watching this play. It's so good. And then she started talking about it, and it was so funny because it was just like, oh, well, okay then, and mostly stuff like that doesn't really happen. But it's really interesting to watch the many, many different ways people interact with theater when the rules are not prescribed.
When they don't apply.
So some people like to set up a big blanket and lie down and have pillows, and it's this kind of some people bring the books and they try to follow along with the show. Sometimes, one time we had a really, really big night. It was, towards the end of the summer, especially, some nights we'll be getting, 2,000 people, which is crazy. It's just a lot of people. And right when you're all the way in the back, you really can't see very much,
Yes.
And I was all the way in back. I was kind of like wondering, what are these people getting out of this production? And this guy was saying to his friend, you see what I mean? You can just kind of sit here and look at it and just zone out. And I was like, well, all right, if that's what theater works for you right now, that's great. And I'm glad you have a place to come and just let the images kind of float by you, and you don't need to fixate on. I love that people are bringing all of these different ways of interacting with theater. And I always learn from them, like all the different things theater means to them. And it's, we have kind of a tradition at the end of the performance. We take donations. And so most of the actors have buckets. But what's great about it is we get into lots of conversations with audience members in a way that you don't in a typical theater, right? Where you just go backstage and they leave, and maybe you see your friends, but you're not necessarily
interacting with
hearing
the
from
audience. Yeah,
people.
at
And
the
so we
end.
really hear a lot of really extraordinary stories about what theater means to people, what access to theater means to people. Um, this couple got engaged on stage and then a few
Oh,
years later, like brought their baby that they'd had. And it's just
oh
stuff
my
like that that
God.
is so special
It's such a
when you
full
create
circle
this kind of,
moment.
this really open arts experience.
Oh,
I don't
that's
think
wonderful.
every play would work in such an open arts experience,
Yeah,
but Shakespeare wrote plays for
for
a
the
theater that was like that.
like that.
So
Yeah,
in Shakespeare's theater, people would have been selling food during the performance, and there would
yeah,
have been, you know, uh, people involved in the world's oldest profession,
yeah, yeah.
soliciting people. There were chamber pots at the end of rows,
Mhm.
so it's like he wrote plays for this very, very vibrant, lively, somewhat
Environment. Yeah,
chaotic environment, you know. And I think that that's to me why Shakespeare works so well in the
so
way we
well.
do it, because
Yes,
we can engage the audience, we can make them part of the show. If somebody gets up and needs to do something, we can wrap that into what's happening. And we really want the summer performances to just be like, you can bring your whole self and you can
that's
come as you
beautiful.
are, and you're going to find your place here. There's a place here
That's
for you.
beautiful. Oh,
Yeah, and I
that's
think,
beautiful.
yeah, and that's, I think, a huge part of why Griffith Park works for that is because that's very
Yes,
much I think for many Angelinos, it feels like this is this big green heart in the middle of the city, and
yes.
it's so beautiful to be part of that in this way that we are.
Oh, I love that. All right, we are at the 30-minute mark, so we're gonna go on a little break, and then when we come back, I'm gonna ask you exactly what you just said. I want to get to know how the idea came to you of partnering up with Griffith Park. So we'll talk about that when we come back. Hit it, Jovi.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access. Coordinate fountains and splash pads. Provide public connectivity. All from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the Daily Parks and Rec Show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
They say it's just rec. Just rec, where kids learn to try again. Just rec, where confidence begins. Where teamwork, effort, and fun matter more than trophies. It's not about perfection. It's about participation. It's not just rec. It's where kids learn to love the game and themselves. It's just rec until they learn teamwork for life. It's just rec, but it's everything to them. It's more than rec. It's a movement. It's just rec until you realize it's shaping the next generation. Together, we're not just running programs, we're building a culture of confidence, connection, and community. Join us.
All right. So before we get back into our show, let's give some love to the amazing partners who keep the daily Parks and Recreation show running. First up, huge thanks to Outdoor Link. They connect outdoor brands with local parks using smart location based ads. It's a fantastic way for communities to discover new outdoor gear while supporting the public spaces we all share. We also want to shout out the National Academy of Athletics. They team up with local parks departments to offer incredible youth sports camps, leagues, and training. They're all about helping kids build skills, confidence, and character through sports. Thank you so much to both Outdoor Link and the National Academy of Athletics for backing Parks and Rec pros everywhere. All right, Melissa. So here we are. And I just wanted to ask you, so how did you guys come up with the idea of partnering up with Parks and Recreation? Where did that idea, how did you find out? Did somebody give you a tip or how did that come?
Yeah, so we were just starting performing here in LA. This is around 2003, 2004. And we had done a kind of outdoor production in a park that wasn't part of the Recs and Parks system. And we liked it, but it wasn't just the best fit for a couple of reasons. And I think it was really a friend of my husband said, "Hey, I was just at this park in East Hollywood. This looks like this could be a great spot for you. Why don't you check it out?" And so we connected, and it's Barnsdall Art Park.
Yes.
So it's this beautiful park that was gifted to the city by Aileen Barnsdale. And her goal with it was that it would be a home for the arts in Los
Yes.
Angeles. And there's a really lovely art gallery that's open to the public. There's an art center there where they do tons of art classes for young people and for others, for people of all ages.
Yes.
And there's a Frank Lloyd Wright house that's up there.
Yes.
And we started performing, I think the first year we were sort of, it was just the first year we were kind of on the grounds of the Frank Lloyd Wright house. And then we moved outside to the large lawn that's up there. But
Yes.
really what happened, and that's a Recs and Parks site. So it's run by
Yes.
Recs and Parks and also the Department of Cultural Affairs here in Los
Yes.
Angeles. And in many ways, it was a great fit. It's an arts park, but our audience size grew too much. And so we just doesn't have quite the infrastructure.
Yes.
But if you're in LA, visiting LA, Barnsdall Art Park is a must see. It is stunning. The views are extraordinary. It is an absolutely beautiful, beautiful jewel
place.
of a park.
Yeah.
That is just, it's so special. And there's actually an indoor theater there as well that does lots of
Yes.
interesting programming
Yes.
throughout the year.
Yes.
So it's definitely worth
It's so
checking out.
beautiful.
Yeah.
You know, it's so
And then
interesting. I have a story about that because I also have performed at Barnsdall, but I was there to perform for an event that was saving it from becoming a private place. So they were trying to privatize it.
Oh,
And so the city called me and I choreographed a piece called The Children of Olive Hill. And so it's based, yeah. I should have brought pictures to start flashing them. So it's about Aline's Barnsdall life and
oh my
how she
gosh.
inherited the money from her father, and the oil money. And so I had all my ballet students and I dancing and doing this whole choreography where I portrayed Aline's Barnsdall, and it was so beautiful. And
Oh,
I'm so
amazing.
glad that we won. I mean, the whole event was to bring the awareness that, you know, there were a couple of investors that wanted to purchase it and they wanted to make it private. So if that had happened, we wouldn't have Barnsdall Park for the entire community like we do right now.
No, that would have been just absolutely a travesty. It is I
Yes.
mean, literally, it is one of the most beautiful spots in LA, I think. It's so
I think so
special up
too.
there.
And then the fact that you can be there and you can look at Griffith Park right in front.
Yeah.
Like when
Yeah.
people come to LA, they need to go to Barnsdall. They need to have a picnic
Yeah.
because it's just absolutely beautiful.
It's
Well,
stunning.
now I heard that you guys are getting like the city of LA is building this incredible complex for you guys to have the performances. So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit about that.
Yeah. So how we've ended up where we are in Griffith Park
Uh-huh.
was we were outgrowing Barnsdall Park. We just had too many audience members. And so the
That's a great
Recs and
problem to
Parks,
have.
which is a wonderful, absolutely wonderful problem to have. And Recs
Yes.
and Parks had always been very, very supportive of the
Uh-huh.
program. And so they wanted to help us find another place. And at the time, we
Fantastic.
also had a partnership with Symphony in the Glen, which
Oh,
was an organization that did free symphonies for out in
oh.
parks. And it was just an extraordinary organization. Um,
So did you
and
guys have live music during the play?
we,
Oh,
well, we have done that, yes. And we used to,
nice.
and what was so, my Maestro Arthur Rubinstein would do these amazing concerts for families. And so when we started in Griffith Park, we often would feature a Symphony in the Glen performance as part of the festival. Unfortunately, they're not producing anymore, but
Oh,
they introduced us to this site at the old zoo. They said, there is this beautiful site at the old
oh,
zoo.
nice.
And Rex and Parks agreed that was a great spot for theater performances. So that was in 2010. We moved over there.
Yeah,
And that's really what allowed our audience to grow.
to grow.
About then, we
Yeah.
were performing for about 10,000 people a summer, 10,000 people. And then because that site is so much bigger, it's at the
Mm-hmm.
base of this natural amphitheater. Um, the site is just it's such a special place in the park.
Yes.
That we were able then to grow, have more audiences, and welcome more people to come see the productions. And in the I can't quite remember what year, it was 2014, 2013, the
Mm-hmm.
late great council member Tom LaBonge, who sadly passed away, but he was such an extraordinary supporter of Griffith Park, of LA in general, but he loved
Oh.
Griffith Park. And he was just walking through Griffith Park once, and he happened upon our production, and he was
Mm-hmm.
so taken by, he had come to check it out because he knew it was happening in his
Yeah.
district. And he was like, hey, what's so exciting to me is I'm looking at the audience. It's just like the same audience that would be like if you were in Dodger Stadium. And I said, that's
Wow.
the audience. He was like, yes, this is the audience we want. Like Angelinos, And Tom started this process of putting together, the pieces to have a permanent stage in the park.
That's
And
fantastic.
I think we'd gone into his office for a meeting, which I think was about, I kid you not, getting toilet seats on the bathrooms. Like it was
Wow.
that kind of mundane. And he
Yeah.
said, how about if we build you a stage? And we're like, well, okay, that sounds good.
Nice.
And that was 15 years ago. So it's taken a while. I think anyone who knows Los Angeles knows things move rather slowly here.
Yes.
But through a lot of teamwork with Rex and Parks and all of the amazing people at the Bureau of Engineering and the
Yeah.
city architects, a really beautiful stage has been designed. It's you can see it taking shape right now, and we're performing actually just over the hill in a temporary space. So we're still at the
Okay.
old zoo, but in this a temporary space while that construction is being completed. And
When
I
is
think
it
what's
going to be? Do you know when it's going to be completed?
it looks like next summer, which will be great.
Oh
So it
my
looks like summer
God.
of 2027, which would be very
Yes.
exciting. Hopefully at least by the Olympics, I think would be fantastic.
Oh, I love that.
But it's really beautiful. The architect, Aaron Galstian, has done such a lovely job. He designed something that almost like it kind of references like the swoop of trees and the shape of the amphitheater.
Oh,
And it's a
wow.
very simple platform that I think when we're not using it will be accessible for people to maybe even like have yoga on this platform or high school
use it.
graduation.
Yeah.
Or it will be a community space
Oh, it's
that's
a community
administered by
for
Rex
other.
and Parks.
Ah, okay.
And
And
there's
you
no
guys get to
seating,
use
so
it
it
on the
doesn't
summer.
impact the use
Environment.
of the space.
Yeah.
Because the environment, people use it for picnics and
Yeah.
parties and
Yeah.
there's runs and events are always not big, like, it's such a beautiful location. Anyone who's been to the
Yes.
Old Zoo knows it's just lovely little, one of those special gems in the park. But
Oh, that's gonna
so
be
the
beautiful.
environmentally, it won't be too impactful for that. Like that will still be
As
accessible
opposed
to
if they had
people.
built a complex with,
That's
like
right. There's no like
walls.
seating and gates that get locked off and that kind of thing.
Yeah,
It's still
yeah,
going
yeah.
to
That's
have that
beautiful.
beautiful open feeling, but it will allow us to build, kind of more ambitious sets, and
Lighting.
it simplifies some of the electrics, and we can hang speakers higher so we can have the sound a little bit
Yes.
higher. and that kind of thing. So
Okay,
it's
that's
really
wonderful.
quite sorry, I'm just turning. We've got a guest moving through the space.
It's okay. This is what this podcast, the reason why these podcasts are so marvelous, because it's like we're having a conversation at a cafe.
I've got my dog next to me.
Oh,
That was my child here. I'm just gonna, let's see if I can make this feel more when
yes.
it gets out. There
But
we go. See, that'll be great.
nice. I'm so
Sorry about
excited
that.
about this new location.
Yeah,
Like you
it's gonna
say,
be
because it
really,
opens up the possibilities for so many more performances and
yes.
things to come.
I think it's going to be great. And I think that we're really thrilled about that it's going to help our productions be, serve people better. It's going to be, it will be easier for people to get up to the site. There's some regrading happening, so it'll become a more
Okay.
accessible site, which is really, really important because we want to make sure it's easy for people to get there. There'll be
Yes.
really, really great built out ADA accessible places for people to watch the performance
Oh,
from. So
nice.
it's really working on making it more accessible. And then in letting us have a little bit more aspiration around the production elements, which I think
Yes.
will be wonderful for the audience as well. And one of the things we do that we love doing is kind of throughout the summer, sharing the stage. So we'll do pre-shows with different arts organizations. So maybe a music group or that kind of thing, or a dance company. And so we'll do these kind of nights where we have these arts partners who come and present before the performance, and that's been really special. So I think having a space like that will make that so much easier.
Yes.
Because the festival for us is the shows that we're doing, which are
Yes.
Obviously is like the centerpiece of it. But then around that, we always have different events, whether it's like this summer, we're kind of have climate as a theme. So we have a couple of climate activation events where we're going to have activities and educational things for families. We have pre-show discussions. We have
Oh, nice.
workshops for young people. So we do workshops for families before certain performances.
Oh,
So there's a
nice.
lot happening around the edges. And so I think the new facility is going to make a lot of that
Possible.
simpler for
Yeah.
us to do, and make it where we'll be able to do even more of that. We'll be able to kind of really
Yes.
uplift it, because right now what's happening is at like every night we have to unroll all the lighting cables, and there's a lot of
No. Yeah, as a
stuff
performer, I
that will
know.
be
I
gone, so we're
forgot
able to-
about that.
Yeah,
Oh,
so there'll be more infrastructure, which then allows us to really concentrate on how are we serving people, what are we offering to people, and then when we're not on the space, it's going to be a community space, which is also
Yeah.
extraordinary. And then a really interesting thing is one of the things we're working on now with the amazing people at Rex and Parks is figuring out a way to kind of cycle in almost like a young people's internship into the summer.
Oh,
So
nice.
offering opportunities for teenagers to learn what it is to have some of these theater careers that are really
Yes.
great careers that aren't necessarily acting, even like maybe there's performance, but also learning how to be a stage
Lighting.
manager, learning how to be a technician, all of these
Exactly.
amazing skills that theater involves so many different
So
kinds of
much.
skills. So
So
we're really
much,
excited
yeah.
about that possibility as well, and so we're working now with the city through Rex and Parks to
Oh,
kind of
see, that's
build out this
beautiful.
program. So yeah, we really wouldn't be where we are at all without the people that have championed us at the park, at Rex
Yeah.
and Parks. It's a really extraordinary group of people that are so dedicated to Los Angeles and so dedicated to providing this really meaningful recreational touch point for the people of Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And what I love about the people is they have an expansive view of what recreation means. Like it isn't
Yes.
just about, right? Like you were saying earlier, it isn't just about all the outdoor activities are really important,
Yes.
but recreation also means a place where you can go and be peaceful, a place where you can go and experience music, a place where you
Yeah.
can go and experience theater. Those are really important parts of how human beings
Mhm.
find recreation. And I think the people there now at the department are so committed to it. And they've really been great partners throughout what has been an extraordinarily difficult time in Los Angeles between,
Yes.
COVID was obviously terrible and hard for
The
everybody.
fires.
And then the fires last year were just devastating here
Yeah.
in the city. Just unspeakably devastating, honestly. And then Recs and Parks, of course, I don't know how much we want to get into that, but it's a department that could use more funding on a municipal level.
Yes.
But our
Yes.
partners have been in the park have always stayed committed to doing what they can to help make this festival happen. And it's just, we wouldn't have the festival if we hadn't had those individuals really advocating for us at
Oh,
the
that's
city.
beautiful. That's beautiful. And it's so important. And like you say, you know, the arts are so important for people. And what people don't realize is that human beings are natural artists. You know, like when you take a 3-year-old, a 4-year-old, they sing, they dance, they paint, they act because nobody has told them no. It's the moment that somebody dares to tell a child, don't sing, don't dance, or don't act, or don't paint, that something happens to your spirit and you just closed everything off. And then
Yeah.
from then on, you start thinking, oh, I'm not an artist. But the reality is that we are all natural born artists. And if we have the opportunity to go to these places that are offering the arts at a very affordable rates and in a very friendly environment, because you know, I'll be the first one to say the arts environments sometimes are not the friendliest. And if people are not of a
Yep.
particular background or a particular social status, going to a private arts academy, whether it's for painting, dance, or theater, can be intimidating,
Totally. Yeah.
right?
I
And
think that's
so
very true.
it's amazing to have programs like Shakespeare in the Park where people can just be who they are and come and experience it. And I'm sure you get a lot of people that have never been to the theater, and you guys are the first company that
Yes.
gets the experience,
That is
which
one of
is a
the,
beautiful thing.
yeah, we really try to track that too, because we try to get as much data from the audience as we can, because we want to make sure we're hitting our
Yes.
mission, you know?
Yeah.
And that's one of the questions we ask. So we do know that a lot of people, that is their first theater performance. And for a lot of our audience, you know, it's really that's their theater going is the Shakespeare in the
Yeah.
Park. And my hope is always that somebody who maybe didn't see the arts as a place, you know, didn't see going to the arts as a thing that is for them. My hope is that they come to one of our performances, as you
Yes.
said, they feel really welcomed. They feel really, you know, empowered and you know,
Included,
that
right?
it's for them. And my hope
Yes.
is that emboldens them to then go maybe into some of these places that don't necessarily instantaneously feel welcoming,
Yes.
but it does belong to, you know, but they are welcome
It belongs
go
to
there. But, you know,
everybody. Yes.
I hope that it helps people kind of jump into an identity as somebody who is a theater goer, or is somebody
Yes.
that wants to experience music, experience
Exactly.
dance, experience the arts in a different way. And so that's one of the things we love about doing some of these partnerships that I was talking about is,
Yes.
you know, we had a pre-show partnership one year with LACMA, and that was great because it was
Oh.
kind of a museum, and, you know, and being able to say to our audience, this other thing is for you too. You know, because
Oh,
we do know, we do get a lot of people that it is really their first experience,
their first time.
especially
Yeah.
with theater. So we want to make sure
Yeah.
that then they're thinking, hey, I'm going to, maybe that weekend, instead of looking at what movies are playing, maybe they'll think, what plays are happening in my neighborhood?
Exactly.
That would be amazing.
And when you guys are not doing Shakespeare in the Park, tell us a little bit about the other things that you guys do throughout the year.
Yeah,
You
that's
have
great.
a smaller theater, right? Or I
Thank
mean,
you so much for
the
asking.
thing,
Yeah.
of
About
course.
10 minutes from our site in Griffith Park,
Uh-huh.
we have our indoor space, which is the Indie Shakes studio. And it's where we rehearse the summer festival. It's really our base of operations. But when it's not the summer, it's also a performance space. And we do a lot of new works there. So we develop some new plays there, or we'll do Shakespeare plays or classical plays, and maybe do them in a way that's slightly more experimental that maybe we
Oh,
wouldn't
okay.
be able to do in the park.
Yeah.
So that's typically how we use that space. We teach classes there. We sometimes have late night dance parties there.
Oh,
It's really
nice.
this kind of, and it's a really great place just to get closer to the audience, because it's a much smaller space, about 75 seats. So we
Okay.
really
Oh,
get a
it's an
chance to
intimate
meet
theater.
everyone
Yeah.
who's coming to see a show. And so it's this lovely counterpoint to this really big outdoor space, to have this
Of
intimate
course.
space indoors.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
beautiful.
so and we did a workshop of a dance version of the Furies recently, Aeschylus's The Furies, and so we
Oh,
do
nice.
maybe some more experimental things there. Mm-hmm.
Like bringing Shakespeare up to speed to like 2026. Shakespeare
Yeah,
2020.
or just kind of deconstructing it and maybe following, this one character in a different way, or,
Nice.
presenting it in a way that's, hey, we think this might work. We want to explore if we do think this
Like
will work. Let's
adaptations
try
to
it
his
this way and
plays.
see. Yeah.
So you
It's an
guys do like an
experimental
adaptation.
space.
Oh my God, I love
Yeah.
that. That's
So we call
fantastic.
it the studio because it's like our studio space, but then we
Yeah, where you
also
get to
open all the work we
experiment
do
and
to
create.
audiences. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. That's fantastic,
So we're
Melissa.
very
Yes.
busy year round.
Oh my God, that's great to know. So people can know that it's not just the summer, but
Not just
after the
them.
summer, you guys go to the smaller space and they can find you there. And you guys have classes, workshops, everything.
Yep, everything there. Mm-hmm.
Perfect. Tell us your social media handles and how can people find out more about what you guys do, your schedules, your performance activities, and all.
Yeah. Our social media handles, you can find us on Instagram and Facebook at Indie Shakes,
Okay.
INDIE, Indie Shakes. Our website is indieshakes.org, and you can go there right now and look at the calendar for the whole summer and see all the amazing events we have. We open Coriolanus on the 24th, which is a rarely done Shakespeare play that is oddly pertinent to our times. It's a
Wow.
sort of a political thriller, and it kind of
Oh, nice.
deals with politics and how that kind of warps people's morality. And has some very exciting fights in it, sword fights. Any of you sword fight fans, come see it. And we open our season on the 24th. The 27th, we have a great Pride night happening with lots of kind of Pride celebrations in and
Oh,
around the
nice.
performance. And then we'll do Comedy of Errors opens in July, and I should know, or in August 5th, I think. And that has music and is extremely family-friendly production. Again, not children's theater, but definitely, will captivate younger people.
Yes.
And so that's happening this summer. So yeah, Indie Shakes, at Indie Shakes and indieshakes.org. And you can find all of that information now. All the summer performances, everything in the summer is free.
That's perfect. And question, do people dress up to go to these performances? Do you ever see out in the audience people with flowers and Renaissance outfits and stuff like that?
Well, the wonderful thing about the park is people can really dress however they want. So sometimes, yes, and we have this amazing group of friends who come every year, and they do themes for the play, and they set out an entire picnic on a picnic table that's decorated. They're dressed up. It's
Oh my God, I
really
love that.
they did this amazing Gothic tea party last year for Dr. Faustus. So people do dress up, and we actually have for every performance has a dress up theme night. So it's a night. So if you love to dress up in groups, you can, we have a sort of Roman theme night for Coriolanus, and then a swinging soiree theme night, kind of swing outfits for Comedy of Errors. And last year we did our Love's Labor's Lost was kind of set around the era of basically Bridgerton. So we did kind of like a Bridgerton night.
Love that.
And there were so many people in full on outfits. So yes, if you like to dress up, wear whatever you want, you're welcome.
And what people don't know, because when I was doing the Frida Kahlo performance, we had a lot of people dressing up like Frida. And for a performer, it's so amazing to look out into the audience and see people dressed up in the theme of your show, because then somehow it makes you feel good, like they are so into it, and something relaxes you about seeing that. Like you feel the love and the energy because they made the
100%.
effort to dress up and to put the flowers or whatever, so you feel the support of the audience through that. And so that's why I wanted to ask if you guys, that's amazing. You better dress up to come to Shakespeare in the Park.
But if you want to just wear sweatpants, that's cool too.
That's cool. Come in your pajamas. Yeah, if you need to come in your PJs, come in your PJs. Don't miss
and
the
you can bring a
shows.
picnic. You can, bring a picnic, bring your friends, bring a blanket. Yeah.
Oh, Melissa, thank you so much for being part of this. It has been such a pleasure to have you in today's show. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. It was just a joy to talk about it, and I so appreciate I appreciate this podcast so much.
Oh my God, no. And we are so happy to be able to showcase the work that you guys have been doing and what you're doing for the city of Los Angeles by bringing the arts into the community, to the parks, for the people, how it should be. Because like I say, we need to start with our little ones because that is the audience of tomorrow. And if we don't start with them, we're not going to have an audience in 20 years.
That's very true. Very
Yes.
true.
All right, everyone. This concludes our podcast today. Before we go, I want to let you know that tomorrow, Thursday, we have a few shows happening at 12 o'clock, the leadership series. At 1:30 p.m., we have the youth sports mastery. And at 5 p.m., the young professionals network. So make sure to tune in either into the Facebook or the LinkedIn page for the Daily Parks and Recreation Show. You can also watch it on YouTube and Spotify, Apple. We're everywhere where you need to have us. Before we go, I also want to give a special thanks to our strategic partnership network. These dedicated vendors and community groups work daily with Parks and Rec departments to build better programs, safer spaces, and great family experiences. From outdoor tech innovators to youth sports leagues, you drive our success. We appreciate you all. If you want to join the DPRS Media Network, click the link in the description to connect. And to our existing partners, thank you. We couldn't do this without you. Thank you so much, guys. And I will be seeing you in 2 weeks. Thank you, Melissa, for your time, for your candid answers, and for this amazing hour that we just had together.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.
Technology isn't just changing devices, it's changing communities. It's changing how we connect, how we lead, and how we create experiences that bring people together. Because today's parks and recreation industry isn't only about fields, facilities, and programs. It's about innovation, smart systems, digital experiences, and the people transforming ideas into impact. Behind every thriving community, there are leaders embracing change. As technology evolves, parks and recreation professionals are discovering new ways to create safer spaces, stronger connections, and better experiences for everyone. This is where conversations meet innovation, where ideas become action, where parks and technology come together. Welcome to Parks and Tech Collective, streaming on DPRS Media Network.
In the parks and recreation industry, attention is limited, but influence is everything. Every day, thousands of parks and recreation professionals make critical decisions. Decisions on infrastructure, programs, technology, and vendors. The question is your brand part of that conversation? DPRS Media Network was built to answer that question. We are a dedicated media ecosystem focused exclusively on the parks and recreation industry in the United States. Through a network of daily and weekly shows, we inform, connect, and influence this audience. Our distribution spans multiple platforms: LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, X, Instagram, plus email campaigns, newsletters, podcasts, and live event coverage. This is not a single-channel strategy. It is a multi-platform media engine. Today, our network reaches over 214,000 connections, including 51,000 on LinkedIn, 64,000 on Facebook, nearly 40,000 email subscribers, and thousands more across podcast and social platforms. While some audiences overlap, our true value is not just reach, it is relevance. We speak directly to parks and recreation directors, program managers, and industry leaders, an audience that is highly targeted and actively engaged. Through DPRS Media Network, your brand integrates seamlessly into this ecosystem. Through sponsored show segments, targeted advertisement placements, podcast features, and host-read promotions, even custom branded content. Not as interruptions, but as part of the conversation. And we don't just operate online. We attend over 15 major parks and recreation conventions each year, reaching more than 24,000 professionals in person. Through live shows, interviews, and on-site media coverage, we position our partners at the center of the industry. Every piece of content we produce is amplified across our entire network. Multiple shows, multiple hosts, multiple platforms. Your message doesn't appear once, it multiplies. This is more than advertising. It is strategic positioning within a trusted media network built specifically for the parks and recreation industry. If your goal is to reach decision makers, build credibility, and stay top of mind, then it's time to partner with DPRS Media Network. Apply for partnership or sponsorship today. Let's position your brand where the industry is already paying attention.